we're going to show you how to get off after you are done sucking. We're going to show you how to, okay, yes.
That was.
I did it well,
so
I can't
good.
hold it in.
Just laugh.
Wow, we are taking, anyways, what an intro. We're going to show you how to rappel, bail, or get off your big wall. Because if you get to the top of a big wall, you're only half done.
The part that I hate about big walls most is actually the entire descent coming off. Going up is the fun part. Coming down, you're already exhausted. It's already too hot. These haul bags are too damn heavy already. So that's where the most mistakes happen. I've had a lot of scary encounters already coming off of walls because I'm so exhausted where I didn't clip in my ATC. And that's where mistakes happen. So really pay attention to how you can keep yourself safe in this episode and keep yourself redundant.
So welcome to How Not to Big Wall. This is a 12 video course that we're finding is significantly insufficient amount of information you need in order to big wall. Mm-hmm. But luckily, it's a small part of a bigger project called the Big Wall Bible. And that is where we can add your contributions, or we can add extra clips if we think of stuff later, and we can all, as a community, add to this thing if you go to the How Not to Contribute section of that book. And we have horizontal stuff. I mean, vertical might be okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's just going in the blog, it's not going to be in an episode. I think that's okay.
If you're watching these episodes on YouTube and you are truly trying to watch this to learn how to do a big wall, make sure to actually go check out the website too and the Big Wall Bible.
For some reason, if I came up with a really amazing thumbnail and tricked you into clicking this video, my name is Ryan Jinks, and welcome to How Not To, where we try to break gear fear for all extreme sports. And this is our A to Z content, where we're trying to actually teach you something instead of breaking stuff and going, wow, but applying the things that we've learned. And we've learned what are myths, what aren't, what you need to be afraid of, and the context in which certain phrases are meant for.
Yep. My name is Jeremiah Letourneau, and I'm a rock climber from the Midwest who just absolutely loves doing big walls. I've got a chance to do 8 big walls, but I'm still learning a lot. But I felt encouraged to be able to share my experiences on a wall, but just to do more for the climbing community. So one of the things that I did in the Midwest was start a climbing coalition for South Dakota. On the eastern side, a team of us got together and decided we have a lot of conservation efforts that we need to do, land ownership negotiations, and stewardship projects in our area. So my board and I are working together on the Great Plains Climbing Coalition, and we're looking for donations. But I thought another thing I could do is help Ryan with this project, because it's quite the overtaking.
This was very much like a big wall. It was twice as hard as we thought. And we thought it'd be twice as hard as we thought it would be when we started. Something interesting is Jeremiah has never had to bail, and I've had to bail 10 times out of my 28 attempts. So I've had 18 successful things, but you still gotta come down. And we're gonna talk about both scenarios. Now, this is not all encompassing on how to go down a rope. There is a book by Andy Kirkpatrick called Down, an entire book on this, and it barely covers the other stuff that we covered in the Canyon Rope Systems course we did with Brent on his wall here, who's letting us film this course on his beautiful plywood wall.
Thanks, Brent.
So what's another book?
Another book that you'll probably see this guy hanging around different crags and stuff like that, stealing your walls and stealing your women. How to Hooking Up. He's the master of hooking up. But also in the book, you can see how wide this book is, that there is a lot of information about big walling in general, but there's also a huge section on how to descent as well. So make sure to be checking this in to fill in any gaps that we are definitely missing.
Yeah. So in a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-minute video, whatever this ends up being, is not enough for you to just go start rappelling. Most deaths happen doing this part, not the going up part. I guess most deaths are the coming down part, is depending on how fast it is. I've almost...
Very true. That's good.
I've personally rappelled with an ATC with no friction hitch below, that people often call the third hand, in case you let go. And I was looking for the bolts so much that I wasn't paying attention to my rope. And then after I was like, okay, how much further can I go down? I looked down, I couldn't find my rope. There was only this much left below my hand. And I almost rappelled off the end of my rope, and I would have fallen about 400 feet. That is where so many accidents happen.
Yep.
Most of the deaths I've heard of Royal Arches are the rappels.
Yep. My thought is For something that is so light but so versatile, for a tool to help with a friction hitch on the way down, to help ascend up a rope, to be able to pull onto a rope grab to help in a hauling scenario, for rescues. For such a light item, it is incredibly versatile compared to something like a tib lock. This thing is only for grabbing onto one strand, while this thing can grab onto one strand and two strands. And in terms of weight, they're relatively the same.
You seem to carry everything on you anyways. So you're like Brent's gear room, but you carry it.
Carry it and still move fast.
He still climbs walls faster than I do. What's funny is in the canyon course, you're not supposed to tie a knot in the end of the rope because you get stuck in the middle of the waterfall and drown. But in this context, in big wall, which blew my mind when I heard that, take the time to pull your rope up and tie a knot at the end. Even without a friction hitch, you're bound to stop at the end of your rope. Might not be fun, but at least you'll stop. It's rappelling off the end of your rope is where a lot of accidents happen.
One thing that always caught my attention is when you're doing a lot of rappels on fixed lines, is that that rope gets hot very quickly, especially with two people rappelling with heavy haul bags and you're trying to move fast. That rope gets very slick and feeds through devices very quickly as well. So making sure that you have something closing the system is incredibly important.
Because if your hand starts to burn, even with gloves, you're gonna let go. So as much of the jokes are in the beginning of this video, it is very important to take this topic very serious. Just like you should take this hownottoswag.com shirt very serious. It's
as
my
well
rappelling shirt. Oh my God.
Give my shirt a tug. It's really hot in here, it's kind of sticky.
Oh my God, wow, this episode is the worst episode. Fun fact, it's too close to my walkie.
There we go.
I've left these on since we started filming 3-4 days ago.
Yeah.
And still working. Rocky Talkie helped sponsor part of this video so I could take the time to make this with Jeremiah and pay somebody to make this beautiful new website that you're able to see now. And they give you a 10% discount if you click the link rockytalkie.com/hownottto. And then when you buy it with that link, 10% goes to How Not To, supporting what we're doing here. Free content is not free to make, and I appreciate Rocky Talkie for investing in what we're doing. They also donate to SAR units, search and rescue units that are underfunded. They are climbers themselves who developed this. And I've talked to the people who made this multiple times, and I think they're super awesome people. It's not just some big corporation. So it's kind of cool to be able to plug products that I use and has made my big projects successful. And it's going to make my big walls way easier. Just like in our other videos, Jeremiah will show you his way since he learned things differently. I'll show you my way because I learned things differently. And it's not the only ways to do things.
Yep. Cheers.
Get after it. Cheers, you say after you're done with the video.
Very true.
Stay, don't click out.
So I'm going to show how to go down a single fixed line because I'm at the top of El Cap and I decided that I'm going to take the East Ledges descent. The nice thing on East Ledges descent is most of the time there are ropes already attached to the wall and they're fixed there permanently. So I don't have to rig anything up, nor do I have to pull my rope down. Now the downside to that is you are fully dependent upon the quality of that rope. So keep that in mind that there could be core shots in the rope with alpine butterflies in it. I'm gonna go down our fixed line on a really solid anchor here and a solid rope. You'll often kind of see that this is how they configure it, is that on one of the anchors, they have it just through like one of the rings or one of the bolts, and it's usually tied with some kind of knot. And then it's backed up on another strand to another bolt, so you do have redundancy, and then you're gonna go down your fixed rope. So I'm gonna kind of talk through how I have my configurations from below, and then I'm gonna work my way up. So I like to use a rigging plate just because it helps keep me really nicely organized in terms of haul bags, portaledges, as well as myself. So you can see that I've used 2 of my 3 rings. This middle one is where I'm gonna be going in with my personal anchor system. So I'll just take one of my strands here, and that's gonna go ahead and clip in to that. So now I am with the bags and we're all one big mass, one big weight. Now I can pull that in depending on how close I need to be. Moving up, I have the blue strap being my anchor point to the anchor holding the bags. And the nice thing is it's a releasable system. This is the Yates adjustable daisy, but I use it during my rappels too. Because once I have my GRIGRI fed on, I can just hit the button and it'll release the bag. But let's keep moving up. So I need to have a big master beaner. The reason why that's there, and I don't just directly clip my GRIGRI to it, is I like the orientation that it keeps it oriented facing up and it's not all twisted and all that stuff. So that's what that's for. And then it's just a regular GRIGRI. So I'm gonna show how I get into the system. So if I'm on the wall here, I have my personal anchor system that's up there. It's all locked up. I'm all nice and close to the bag. And I like it essentially right by my feet, but with my GRIGRI about my face level here. So with that, I wanna make sure that everything is configured right and the weight is on the GRIGRI. So I'm gonna pull that up as high as I can, but notice I can't lift all of my weight and the bags up with the GRIGRI, right? So how do I make sure before fully committing to this thing is I don't have to come out of this bolt yet. What I can do here is I can just hit this button.
You don't hang on to the tail?
Of that? No, because I'm just checking the GRIGRI. That's all I need to. So this allows me to see, oh, is the GRIGRI holding everything? Yep. So the bags can come off. There's that one. And I can come off. Oh, there we go. So all of the weight now is on the GRIGRI, and then I just pull my handle back and lower down.
And where does this position you with the bags? Is these are not hanging below you, but they're...
Correct, they're right at my hips.
This is amazing because this can suck otherwise.
Yep. So I'm just fully on it. It's at my feet, so then I can just keep my feet pushing against the wall so it's not rubbing against the wall. Yeah. I don't like to sit on them for that reason. And I can push them away, and it's just cradle it between my legs. Like two big nut sacks. So I hit that button again. There it is. Whew. GRIGRI is good. Even if this did blow, right? I'm still in on my locker the whole time. So that's nice and loose. That comes off. And I start lowering back down again.
Now when you use a GRIGRI, do you put a third hand here?
I do not do because I trust my GRIGRI, and I've learned to never let my hand off the brake strand, and I just don't ever dump myself. Because if you you should never get dumped. Yeah. It's really hard if you get dumped. It'll stick with you for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. We are on a roll. Something was in our Cheerios this morning.
So I am all set up to start doing my rigging for my descent on a single fixed line. Again, same setup, right? So it's the bags to the rigging plate, and I'm in on it too. Then I have my adjustable daisy for my backup here, and then I'm gonna get everything loaded up. So, fixed rope, and on the GRIGRI, clip it, and then that clips to the master. I pull that up just like I would if I was on a rappel, the best I can, and then to really double check, do I like it? Yep, this is all loose. Nice, that comes off. And I let that just hang. Literally just let it hang. I come off. There we go. Sit down. Come on. There we go. And then I come down. So I've arrived at the next fixed anchor to keep going. So I'm gonna get my backup on there right away. I'm gonna clip that, lock it down, pull this in nice and close as I need it to be. Cool. Then, I know I'm already in on the plate, but I still like to back myself up just in case something was really weird. So I'm in on that, and then I can just lower the GRIGRI. Take the GRIGRI off. Get the next rope ready. Pull it up as best I can. Go ahead and lower this bag onto it. Cool, I like that. Drop my adjustable daisy. And lower myself back down. Rigging plates are really nice. GRIGRI is really nice for a fixed rope, and an adjustable daisy for my backup. Now I'm going to be doing a double rope rappel, but I'm having to use my own rope instead of a fixed rope. There's no fixed rope here. So I'm going to take my rope that has no knot right now, and I'm going to pass it through my wrap rings. It does not bother me that they're off center right now. It just means that this bolt's going to take more of the load, and this is the backup. That doesn't really bother me. But as soon as I get to here, I do tie my barrel knot to close the system. Or not barrel knot, but finishing knot. Gonna take this knot and find my middle mark. So I keep on going, and this rope doesn't have a middle mark, but guess what? That's the middle mark right there. So now I'm gonna set up everything. You can look at the system and see that it's no different. The haul bag is still on the rigging plate, other haul bag is still on the rigging plate, and I'm still in on the third spot. This is still the master beaner, and this is where my ATC will eventually be going. But then I take my two ropes, find my ATC, feed it just like a normal rappel would be. So what I'm making sure here is that the strands that are going up to the anchor are going up to the anchor, and that the brake friction side is oriented correctly. In this case, for the people that like to spin their ATCs, because you have a haul bag and a lot heavier object, it is really nice to have the teeth on the brake side instead of how most people rappel off of bigger rappels. So I'm actually going to go ahead and clip this in to what I call the master beaner. But I don't want to just rappel down yet, because this is the incredibly hard, heavy load, and if I got hit in the head with a rock, because my other partner is rappelling with a haul bag too, you have a lot more chances. I do want to include a third hand here. My go-to, because I just get more comfortable with it, is to just do a regular Prusik. This is just a Prusik loop. And I go ahead and do my Prusik, and in this case, I'm just going to do 3 wraps. Clipping that, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to clip that back to either my belay loop, because I'm able to, this is an extended rappel right now, or if you need a little bit more distance, another spot that you can do on your harness, but it is not as rated for any falls, but it is a spot that clips lower, is you have a trifecta clipping spot here. This side you do not want to be clipping on, because most people have some kind of buckle that's here. This spot right here would end up sliding up to your crotch. So I always like this inside spot. Now I understand that this is not rated for any falls or anything like that, but this is something that you can clip to if you so need extra distance. Otherwise, you can also do your belay loop. I'm going to do the belay loop for those trolls.
You just fed them a big meal, and then you still use the belay loop.
Yep. So, everything's ready to go. I can still test the system by, actually let's get this higher. Now I'm going to check the system to make sure everything looks really good. So right now I have the Prusik. It seems to be holding me right now. ATC is oriented correctly. Brake strands are going down. The strands are going back up to the anchor. But what do I still want to check before committing to the system is it actually holding? So I'm going to release the haul bags. I can see, oh, yep, that's releasing very well. Take that off and start my rappel. So I push down my Prusik and I go ahead and lower myself down.
it is very difficult to rappel with a heavy haul bag on your back. For lighter haul bags, you can just clip it to your belay loop and then rappel as normal, but this gets very...
So I'm going to show you my setup starting here. I'm going to pass a knot, which if there's a core shot in a fixed line, there's going to be a butterfly knot, and you have to pass it. And sometimes it's hard with the haul bag. And then I'm going to do a changeover down there to my next rappel, and then I'll just show you that whole process. Now, because I'm going down single strand, I'm going to use my GRIGRI. You can use your ATC for this if that's what you want. Sometimes fixed ropes are pretty thick, and if they get wet, they're even thicker, and they get fuzzy, they're even thicker. So be careful you don't have an alpine ATC, and just keep that in mind that they're usually very thick ropes. Now, you can see that I'm connected to the anchor, and I'm going to set up my, I don't want these crisscrossed. There we go. There we go. I'm in, right? Notice I don't have the bag yet. I'm going to show you a much cleaner, simpler system because I'm usually a one bag wonder. And I just have one giant haul bag. And what I do is I clip it either typically to the bottom of that belay loop or into my GRIGRI itself. Now, what's nice about Jeremiah's system is he can escape from the rappel system and put an ascender above what he's doing because it's not too extended. He can't get something above it, stop the bag, and come up and fix something, do something, help me, whatever. So there's a lot of value in that, but this is just nice to know that you can do this too, and I've done this on almost all of my walls. So now it's time for me to go. What's cool is I'm going to test my GRIGRI first and make sure I have a lot of slack in this. Let's see here. I want to make sure this is going to work. I don't undo everything and just sit back and find out it was put in backwards. So check, 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 check everything before you commit to it in a rappel. Okay? So now that I feel good, look good, I'm going to leave that on there, but I'm going to get ready to take it off. So here's the fun part. I'm going to not just push the button, I'm going to lower it onto myself. I love this personal anchor that I can lower under force. You just can push this button and it comes off. So now I'm going to unclip that. I'm going to keep it handy. I'm not necessarily going to just drop it because I'm going to dock the bag to the next anchor to give me a little bit more freedom if I need it. Now, notice I'm still on this, but I'm backed up to this in case something were to be wrong, slip, something was heavy. And I am pretending that this bag is too heavy for me to lift, and then I'm kind of at a hanging belay. You just can't pull yourself up if it's heavy, like you've got this big ball sack. Now you'll notice the positioning here. The bag is like right here where, you know, so many jokes could be made. I can heel hook, or that's not a heel hook, that's a heel kick.
Yeah.
That's it. I can heel kick this past a little ledge. These little ledges, man, they'll get your bag. And I could do this. Now, usually I don't have a haul bag train, but I wouldn't mind doing that. I would just swing it and then wait for it. I would time it and I would rappel down. So I'm just very aware that my center of gravity is way different. It's actually not much different. I'm usually packing this much. Anyways, so I undo my personal anchor while I hang on to this. With the GRIGRI, in most scenarios, I'm not going to use a third hand because if I get clunked out with a rock, I'm still connected. Anyways, I like what I've got here so far. Now, my butterfly's a little too far down for a good example, so we're going to retie that. Now, there's a core shot right here if you use your imagination. And so in order to get past this is I don't even want to fake it. I don't want my GRIGRI right here. That sucks. Because then you kind of got to go up to get it off. Anyways, I need to be able to get on this rope with my ascenders and basically down ascend past it and put my GRIGRI on. That is a oversimplified explanation. The less I have to go down, the better. But I do need to stand up at least on one of my ascenders. Now, if the bag is ultra heavy, it's going to be harder. So just get on here and now, What happens if I stand up? Nothing. There's nothing holding my weight because I'm still being held by this. I got to get off the GRIGRI. So I need to take my personal anchor, and I want to clip to this Super Bomber Quick Link right there.
What type of metal is that, Ryan?
That's an aluminum Quick Link, and so it's super light. Anyways, so now what happens if I cinch this up and do this? I'm going to kind of do this wrong right now. I'm not going to be able to do a pull-up like that. I was able to get the weight off the bag, so this is now loose. What's the problem with taking this off right now? I'm only in one way. Like, that doesn't make me very happy. So if this is not some massive core shot, this is a safe place to clip if the rope is good. Usually if there's a knot there, the rope's not good. Another thing I could do is put another ascender on the rope, but I'm going to try to avoid that step. So let's temporarily put that there. And let's just tie myself into the rope. So there's lots of ways to skin this cat. Now, nothing's going to open down there, so I might as well just do that. I am attached to different things. Fun fact, this doesn't feel that heavy. The weight is being transferred from the bag into my rappel system. So if I just relax, it's just an uncomfortable harness sitting situation. It's not like I'm holding the weight up. So that's a nice thing to know. But now that I'm safe, I'm clipped into the rope down here, and I'm, for simplicity, clipped into that. So I'm going to take it off my GRIGRI now, which is completely smashed on there.
Why?
I've never had this problem.
I know, but...
Welcome to How Not to Rappel. I love showing examples of a real life scenario. My haul bag is pulling down this orange belay loop, and so it's kind of squishing my carabiner. Now, if I clip this direct, I definitely would not be able to get this off. And so it's good to know this because if I'm passing a knot, I need to be able to take this off. But we will overcome because I've done this for years and it's been totally fine. There we go. It's just good to know that could happen. So the highest I can get this now is right up to that knot. So how do I get my weight onto that thing? Now, if I could get the distance dialed, I could just extend that out and get on my weight onto this. But it's not enough, so can I lower this? No, I'm sitting on it. This is where a second ascender is going to have to come into play. Now, I call this worst case scenario where you have to put everything on. And I don't really care how I put this on because I'm not just on my GRIGRI, I'm on this knot and I'm still safe to that. So how am I clipped in? Many ways. I've answered that question. So I'm going to down ascend. I'm going to stand up on this one. I'm going to lower that one, lower that one, lower that one, until I can be on the GRIGRI. The problem with the reality of what I just did, or the non-reality, is it's very hard to stand up with a big pig. So you can't always do that. Sometimes it is nice to have these Yates adjustable daisies where you can release them under load. So that's a nice little hack to make that a little bit quicker. You get everything a lot tighter, yank it up, put your GRIGRI on, and then just release down on it. But now I can start taking everything apart. So just do this real quick, do this real quick. Let's make sure I'm not tangled. Tangled sucks. Good rope management is essential. Now, I'm good, I'm safe, I'm connected, I'm locked, I'm good. I'm going to take this off so I don't have to pass another knot. Rope. Okay, come on down. So I just showed up to my next rappel station and there's no rope. Now, I have to bring my rope with me since I didn't rappel my rope. This was a fixed rope. You would either have it already in the bag or as a mountaineer coil, and we'll just pretend that's what this is. So I have my rope out and I'm going to transfer my weight onto this anchor, and then I'm going to thread this through. So I'm going to put myself on here with something that I'm going to weight, and I'm going to put myself on here with something I'm not going to weight as a backup. So because I'm going to use these rings, I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to make sure I have all my twists out of this thing. And this is a hanging belay. It's nice to make it not a hanging belay. Once I have these in here, it's easy for me to be way more comfortable. Now, the bag is going to be next, and then we'll back everything up. So we're going to put the bag in here on this side of the ring. How's that audio? Woo! Like a USB stick, you got to do it 3 times to make it work. Okay. Now, if I go directly down on this guy, the bag will still be held up by this belay loop that clustered me earlier. And I'll do that if I'm in a hurry, if this is already a fixed rope, if it's not too heavy. But let's just independently dock this so I have the freedom to do some stuff. So I'm going to cinch that up as tight as I can. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. And then as I go down, oh, there we go. So the bag is being held up by that, and I'm being held up by that. Now before I undo anything, I'm going to back myself up, because right now I'm in the GRIGRI in this, and I always want to be in at least 2 different ways. So I'm going to clip in to this guy. I'm going to lock that off, check everything before I get on. Get comfy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Bomber, baby. Off rappel, because I'm officially off. Nothing worse than finding out someone was off rappel and they didn't let you know. Anyways, I'm going to go down with my own rope, so I'm going to go down with 2 strands. This is where the EDK, if I'm tying 2 ropes together, doesn't matter. It's still 2 strands that you're going down. I am going to plug our canyon course right now that I did with Brent, whose wall this is. The entire course is about how to go down. And I learned so much about adding friction and all the fancy belay devices that they have and how to set up different knot blocks. So you can still go down with the GRIGRI if you do a stone knot and jam it into this thing if you dropped your ATC for some reason. So go check out that course. There's lots to learn, and it's also free. So I can just switch my feet around and I don't care how tired I am. Technically, the more tired you are, the more you should have a stopper knot on the end of your rope before you send it down. I think at least the last LCAP death that I remember hearing was only because of this. So, and it was because they were too tired to pull it up. So even if my rope's on the ground, I'll pull it up. Okay, and here is the imaginary middle. Remember the Alpine ATC that's a little skinnier here? It only works with my ropes, but I know that, so I brought it with me. So I'm going to pinch my ropes, and I'm going to set it in here. Oh, that's actually pretty hard. Go Alpine.
Do you want to use mine?
No, I'll make it work. It's what I brought. Okay. I like it. Now where am I going to clip it? If I clip it directly into my belay loop, which I am going to do it in the other belay loop now, I'm not going to have any knots in this rope, so whatever. If I do this, it's a lot harder to put my third hand. And so this is, here's some food for the trolls. Here is a hollow block. And this is what I've used in the past most of the time, is I would do, let's say, a climb heist.
You need one?
Unfortunately, yes. I could swap.
Hey, here, catch!
Magically, I got a locker, and I'm going to clip it to the inside of my leg loop, not so it's interfering with the buckle, I'm going to lock it up. And I don't think you should do any life supporting stuff here, but this isn't life supporting. You only need a few pounds of pressure here to get this ATC to work. We did a whole friction test on this wall in the canyon course, and it's just, it's not holding everything. If it was above, as an oh shit Prusik, if this started to slip, now it's holding 100%, yeah, the leg loop is not where you'd clip it. So just know that if you clipped it here, try not to die. How else do you say that?
That's what I was trying to say too.
Yeah.
We are aware of that.
Yeah.
So
know the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. If you're only, just because you clipped a carabiner to it doesn't mean you're going to fully load the thing. Sure nice to have it here. So let's find out if this works. Still connected. This is holding. And so I can take this off. Now, typically, it's a third hand, not your only hand, right? So I definitely like to hang on to it. I respect the fact that this is, you know, what it is. Normally I don't leave my ladders, just go with it. It's holding. No, it's not holding anymore. Is that
was
because
it.
the leg loop? I've never rappelled in this position before.
But it's when a rock hits you and flips you upside down.
But that's the downside to this. So it's like insurance. It only covers you a little bit, a lot less than you think. Hold on, I'm really stuck. So if I want to extend this to allow enough room for my climb heist to be on my other belay loop and still work if I were to flip upside down, I take that and I double it up because that's more of the distance I want when I'm done girth hitching it. So I'll stick it through my belay loop and I will girth hitch that. And now I will connect on this side. And that puts my ATC, let me see here. I want to show you where that puts that. About right here. I can still easily put an ascender above this. I can still access above it, and that's very important to me to be able to do many things that I might need to do on a rappel. This climb heist, instead of going to my leg loop now, is going to go on my second belay loop. And big wall harnesses are so nice because you have two belay loops, they're beefier and everything, you got more gear loops. I have friends that have tried to big wall with normal harnesses. They did not have fun. I'm going to put my weight on it, and I want to make sure it's going to hold. So far so good. I'm going to just clip that out of the way. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. You seen a theme here? Test, test, test. Think I'm joking? Sometimes, if I'm not sure about stuff, I'll keep clipping, clipping, clipping. And when I flip upside down, it doesn't raise my, like it raises my leg loop up, but I'm not on it. It doesn't change the positioning of these. So that's really uncomfortable. So I'll stop. Now, I forgot my bag. I don't want to forget, as Jeremiah says, my big. So I'm going to figure out which carabiner goes on top. Oh, wow, this is like one of those puzzles. What the hell, man?
Remember, it doesn't matter which one you actually clip.
Well, I kind of want it to be like, look right. So I want that off to my side. I want that under. Have good rope management. I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna lock that. Before I can properly test this, I need to get the bag on me. And so I'm going to lower that. Test, test, test. It's good, good, good. And keep that handy for me later. So far it's holding, but I'm also up here. So this is a problem if it's too heavy, is in most cases, especially coming down a wall, I don't have that much stuff. I can stand up enough to get my fingers in this adjustable part and extend it a little. And then I'm starting to test this. I'm still in two different ways. So far I'm passing all the tests. So I'm gonna take this off. And now I'm gonna test it. So I'm gonna get my feet off of this guy. I'm gonna start cleaning up. And I clip that second loop on my junk drawer. And I'm not going to use any footholds here because this is a true hanging belay. I'm going to clip that second loop. I'm still hanging on because that's good practice. If you're going to be using an ATC, you have to always hang on. You can't just assume this is going to hold you. It's just the insurance. So I'm going to get that completely ready. And I'm going to test this. So far, so good. Now, you don't want to get too far away or you got to go back up. That could suck. Oh, look, I'm already done. Oh, hold on. It's a ledge. I got this.
I had eggs in there.
Isn't it crazy? We literally could have rappelled off the top of Lurking Fear in the time it took us to film this.
Little example of rappelling with a bag. This haul bag I can pretty much lift, and it's not quote unquote heavy, maybe 20, 30, 40 pounds. Definitely still don't want it on my back. I never ever want anything on my back when I'm rappelling. So I'm testing my GRIGRI, got a nice good hand on it. I'm locked, look good, feel good, and if I need to escape this thing, I've got extra stuff I can do that with, or a sling. So I'm not doing a complex thing. I'm only rappelling about 100 feet to the ground. Now, notice I'm still clipped into my personal anchor until I basically shit test this, and then when I can no longer reach this is when I basically want to take it off. So, while I rappel, it's quite nice to have the haul bag right here. I can kick it and get it past the ledge. So check this out. I don't want it catching on the lip. So right here, kick it out, rappel past it. Kick it out, rappel down. And that's pretty much how that goes.
Are you gonna be naughty?
I'm not going to be naughty. That's the problem if I don't cover this. As important as these are to tie, they are as important to untie. I'm about to pull my rope off of this 2-foot rappel that I'm done with. And you don't want the knot at the end of the rope, because if it gets stuck, it's going to really, really suck. So make sure that you are very cognitive about this knot when you're rappelling and taking it out when you're pulling your ropes.
Very good.
That's too short for how important that was, but this video is already too long.
No, I don't think that was. I think you said it in a very clear and distinct way that like it's just a...
Can you tell I've almost died several times from this? This is a good time to tell you why I stopped big walling. I got the shit scared out of me, and I realized it was preventable, but not that unpreventable. And when I was on the stove legs and we're just practicing the first 6 pitches of the nose, because no one was on it, we're just seeing our time. Don't pick the nose as your first route to practice on. I've already climbed it before. Stick with me here. We're just doing 6 pitches. It's cold, it's November, short days, whatever. No one's on it, and it's like, freaking nose. So let's see if we can get better at the beginning, which is so much of the zigzag. Well, we're coming down the stove legs, and this big, beautiful, clean, sterile granite is underneath. There's no cracks anywhere in this, whatever degree angle this is, to just leave gear in case something gets stuck. What happened was we took our knot out, and we are 1 rappel below the actual stove leg cracks. And the way those quick links sit up there is they're a little offset from each other. And the way we ran our rope through, basically, I'll just call it this. This is what it looked like. Now this is not going to get it stuck because of the way these rappel rings are, but it basically pinched it on the rock, and we couldn't get our rope down. We called Yosar and they wouldn't come get us. They're like, you're going to shiver bivvy. And I'm like, we didn't come up here to shiver bivvy. It's like December 1st or the end of November. It's 0 degrees at night. Like, no, we just need somebody to help. You just come up. We don't need a rescue. We just need somebody to do these couple pitches, whatever, right? Well, guess what they were doing? They were cleaning up a body on Royal Arches because they didn't rappel correctly. They didn't test the rappel leaning backwards before they committed to it and died. And so they were dealing with that, and so we had to deal with our own shit. And so we tried to take our other rope because, right, if this is all here, that means we have our full other rope. But you cannot rappel with one rope all the way down the raft rings on that route. So we kind of needed the second rope. We checked. We did what makes the king swing look like nothing in order to find a crack. I was willing to leave my whole trad rack and just rappel off of intermediate anchors. I was willing to do anything. We tinkered with some micro nuts on something that wouldn't stick. But there's only one way to deal with this. So we pulled as hard as we could. We did the 5-to-1, but then we had 2 people, 5-to-2. It was insane how hard we were pulling on this thing. And my buddy lost Rochambeau, and he had to jug this thing. He was holding a lot of force.
What?
I'm not joking. There was no way to get down. No one was going to come help us.
Oh my goodness.
I had no phone calls to do. But wait, like we spent hours not panicking, but problem solving through everything we could do. And if we tried to cut our rope and just bail with one, we would have been fucked. This is why I stopped big walling, is through the rappel systems, not from the going up systems. So he didn't know that there was only this much tail. We pulled, we probably put 1,000 pounds of pressure on. Now, if you know the rules like a pro, you can break them like an artist. So this is what we did. This was the dynamic rope. I had the static rope in my hand. And so I basically belayed him while he jugged with the static rope with the loosest belay you've ever seen. We had a Jesus draw out the bolt. So if it, but I would have let him fall about 30, 40, 50 feet of slippage to absorb the fall of the static rope. Like this was like horrible scenario. The moral of this story is make sure your rope, and you have to consider the wind because El Cap will do this shit to you. Mm-hmm. If you thread it the way you want, the wind's gonna do what it wants, okay? So he got up there and it was like this. And he clipped in. And he had gear, right? So as soon as he got to the first crack, he started placing pro like he was climbing, but he had to go up half of this rope with nothing. And it was terrifying. We didn't panic. We didn't cut things prematurely. We thought everything through. We pulled it and then held the tension. So whatever was pinching this thing is going to stay. Don't do this. I'm just saying this scenario happened. Just be mindful about how you connect your rope up here. Because when you pull it, you want that rope to come down. I stopped big walling for 5 years.
Yeah, that would be horrifying.
We had cell service. We called early. We said, hey, we have a problem. We don't have an emergency. This is gonna, we're gonna try to problem solve it. We're just letting you know, like, this is a serious situation if we can't. Mm-hmm. So we tried rappelling, jugging back up, rappelling. We tried everything. We tried extending whatever.
So you started, he started jugging you up, but as you went up, he was still tied into the other end of the rope?
He was. So made this U shape, and I was belaying him with essentially a static rope.
Yeah.
Now, what could we have done differently if I took the free canyon course on how not to? We could have not blocked. Knowledge weighs 0 grams, take it with you. What we could have done differently is we could have abandoned our one rope and just kept our one 60-meter rope that we had. And if I took that canyon course, I would have known that I could clip these back strands and this strand, and I could not block this like that. And guess what? We have a 60-meter rope to rappel. We just big walled. We have enough slings. We can tie our shirts together. We can take the shoelaces off our shoes.
All the nuts, all the cams.
All the nuts, all the cams, literally all just in a chain link. All your quick draws, everything could be connected to this thing. And then you can just pull it down. And hopefully you don't have that problem twice. That would have been the safest way to approach that.
Yeah. Yep.
I did nothing wrong, and it still happened.
Yep.
And then I get down and people are like, yeah, those quick links seem to be a problem for people. And I'm like, add a quick link.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the most popular routes. There's always somebody on it, and I think their mentality was, give it 20 minutes, someone will be up there. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's one sunny day in a string of bad weather in winter.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
I'm gonna show one more way that you can do a rappel on an ATC on a double rope here, but instead of extending your rappel, what you can end up doing. So you can still, off your belay loop, feed the ATC through. Notice that it is not extended here. And so what I'd end up doing here is putting the Prusik or climb heist or auto block up above, and then that'll add a little bit of extra friction. So the downside to using a Prusik here would be it gets weighted a lot more, and when it gets weighted a lot more, it's harder to release. So this would not be the time you want to use a Prusik up above. Prusik up above would suck, absolutely. Because when you really sit down, notice that that gets weighted, but this is nice and loose. So this is really hard to now push down. So you wouldn't want to use a Prusik here. It gets a lot harder. So instead, a great use for that VT Prusik here, cross-pollination.
Do you ever see big wallers use this?
No, I never see big wallers use this.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. Now I have a backup to my ATC, and then when I lower down, I can just lower down. No issues. Grabs, go down. Very easy. So I'm going to show that you can use a VT Prusik also to maybe help ascend back up the rope too if it's in this configuration. It's a little bit easier to go up because it should unload a little bit easier going up, but then you can still use it to go down, right? So I'm going to go in with my personal anchor system on it so I can get a little bit of distance. I'm going to grab on top of the rope, pull up my ATC, slide up, slide back up, and if I need to, I can hold that up a little higher. Up, up, slide that up. Now if I let go of my ATC, it should be able to still back me up. And then if I need to, I want to make sure that this is still within arm length, or I can use my adjustable evolves here. Otherwise I can just go on the top of it and still do my rappels. Is this a fast way to go up a rope? No. Is it a simple way to go up a rope? Yes.
Are you going to do that on an overhang with a pig under you?
No, but at least it is a way to get back up my fixed ropes without having to extend a rappel. Yeah. Instead, you get to extend your Prusik.
What was that?
You get to extend your Prusik.
I think it's worth taking the time to talk about getting off early. No, but no, seriously. When do you bail? You have no experience bailing.
When would I bail?
When you're bonking, tired, it's already raining, and you've gone 2 days without food?
No.
You would push. You're the kind of guy to push.
So one thing to consider when considering bailing, as Andy Kirkpatrick says it, come back down to your base camp, make a cup of coffee, and think thoroughly. Sometimes you might want to bail just simply because you're scared, but that doesn't mean that you can't overcome it and take the time and patience to still push on. So sometimes consider to bail up. The one time that I would bail is if my partner got an injury that is life-threatening and we did need to come down. Or there was a bad forecast coming in the future and I wasn't prepared enough in terms of supplies to hold out, shelter to stay warm, or had adequate layers to
So you're a big wall bailing theorist because you've only had success.
True, or is it because with extra time and preparation, I didn't have to bail because even though I've been scared terribly bad where I wanted to come down, extra time to just say, I can rationalize this, we're okay. But there is a proper time to bail, right?
Yeah, I've never bailed because I was scared. Usually food will fix that. Mm-hmm. I have bailed mostly due to bad weather, whether too hot, rainy, or even icicles this long on the corner of my portaledge, and then the stoke just went way, way down. Everything's wet, and you don't want to spend another night up there. Early in my big wall expeditions, I gambled on the weather not being as bad as they said. And then I got caught with my pants up, but wet. You may not like me as a big wall partner because I am pessimistic. If I think we're going to run out of water, I will extrapolate 3 days in advance. And I will finish climbing that day, and I will rappel before it gets dark.
And I'm a big wall partner that can be very optimist that says, even though we run out of water, there should be stashed water somewhere on top of El Cap, sometimes on other walls.
But in the context I'm talking about, you, hypothetical you, came unprepared. You didn't learn your jugging equipment like I asked. You took 3 hours to lead, even though you did it really good on the practice route. When you got scared, you wouldn't top step, and so it took you 3 hours to do a effing bolt ladder. And so if you're only 3 pitches up on a 30 pitch climb after the first day, you suck, and you need to come down so you can live long enough to practice more and not suck. It's okay to realize you suck.
The Big Stone is a mountain. Like, I think a lot of people forget sometimes that El Cap is still a mountain.
You can't fake your way up that
Yeah.
thing.
Nope.
So if you find out you were underprepared, that's okay that you suck. Just come down before you're having an epic. If a couple sprinkles are happening, you're not going to get down before you're going to get soaking wet. That's okay. Don't rush down. But don't wait till you've gone 24 hours without water and you're still way too far from the top to have ever made it.
Yep.
Then come down. Come down not too early, but not too late. And if you are going to rappel in the dark, just know it's going to take you extra time. Be safe. Don't pass your next bolt station. And if you are more than 2/3 the way up El Capitan, it is faster to bail this way. If a snowstorm was coming and I was surprised by it for some reason, and I'm 4 pitches from the top of the nose, go that way. It's way faster than trying to go all the way down.
Especially if you start choosing routes that start getting more overhung, or you get to overhung areas on walls, it's very hard to try to get back to the anchors that are attached to the wall if you're 50 feet out while rappelling.
Yeah, if you have to rappel leaning tower, you're going to have to leave quick draws on the bolts or have to leave gear in order to keep you close to the wall and so you can get to the bolts. Now you can have the second person clean those, but then you're kind of having to pull them in and swing and back clean. It's a pain in the ass. But if you are rappelling in the dark and hypothetically your headlamp's dead and there's no moonlight because you're in the leaning tower gully and you put your rope in an ATC and you're tired and don't use a third hand.
Sounds like a very personal story.
No, this is only hypothetical. And it's dark, it's pitch black. So my partner, okay, I guess it is my story. My partner went down because he had the headlamp. So he went to find the next bolt. How hard can it be for me to follow blindly down a rope that's going to the next spot? The good thing is I'm pessimistic and I think everything's going to kill me and everything's going to go wrong. And I would feel the rope and I realized I never put the carabiner in the rope. I put in the ATC, I heard a click of a carabiner, but it never made it through the ropes. And so it would have popped out if I were to lean back on them. You also had an ATC scare.
I was coming down East Ledges after we did Salathe at 104 degrees. We ran out of water. And so we were a little bit delusional as you're coming down. You're just not thinking as clearly as you can. I had my personal anchor system in the anchor and configured everything. But what I did not do was test my ATC and test that my Prusik was good. And I don't think I had my Prusik on too. I don't think I did. I just had my ATC.
To not test a rappel makes my nuts just suck up into my shirt.
The other thing too is I had my haul bag on my back, not configured off my belay
Oh,
loop,
God.
not on a rigging plate, nothing. So the haul bag's heavy on my back.
Oh, we never said that. Don't ever do
Yes,
that.
don't put your haul bag on your back.
Don't ever put your haul bag on your back.
Just
Ever.
hang it from your belay loop or on a rigging plate and have it configured. Something like that, don't put it on your back, you will tip backwards. So that was a little fear.
We all learned that. Hold on, we'll finish
Yep.
the story. Try it at home. Try it on like 10 feet off the ground and just try it.
And we're talking about still a bag that's, more than 50 pounds.
Try to put a 50-pound bag on your back and try rappelling in a safe space, because you're going to have to learn the hard way to believe us.
Yep.
Don't do it on the
Your
rock.
core will be hurting so bad to try to stay close.
So you have the bag.
Bag on my back. I had my anchor attached to the wall still. I configured my ATC. Heard clip. And then out of speed. Saw my partner set off rappel. So I take off my personal anchor system, start leaning back, realize that I would never clip the ATC to the belay loop. I clipped the strands, but I didn't clip it to the belay loop. And so I lean back with the heavy bag and I catch the rope just in time in front of me, grab the rope, pull myself, stand back up, clip back in, clip the ATC, and then
That's literally
get a proper rappel.
Worst case scenario and still live.
Yep. And this was at the top of the East Ledges rappels, essentially.
The beginning of
I
it.
did one rappel
Oh.
and then from there. So this is still 500, 600 feet off the ground. Test your systems. Put knots at the end of your ropes. Practice rappelling, not in a normal multi-pitch way, but like a big wall.
Practice everything in this course. Practice everything you would do on a big wall, on either a one-pitch climb or even in a tree or off a balcony if you have something safe to connect to.
Because it keeps Yosar away.
Practice every day keeps Yosar away. Like, we sucked. We got to the base of one route and realized there's nothing wrong. We had too much water, too much food, too much stuff. And at the base of Half Dome, it's like, that's a no.
Do you know how much water we brought up Zodiac?
Twice as much as you needed?
4 days worth.
Oh, you did.
4 days worth for a team of 3.
Whoa, and you did a day and a half? I've never had the problem of going too fast. What's that like?
Well, you could ask a couple other climbers too what to do with their leftover water. What is a proper thing to do if you're bailing with water that's in your bag? What is okay?
Well, if you have that much water, take a shower. But it is actually acceptable by the park to leave a full, clean water, not poisoned with Gatorade powder, left in the sun, crinkled, half empty, think. You can leave a full bottle of water stashed at the top of either a pitch or a climb in case somebody gets up there who's real thirsty.
Yep. You cannot leave stashed food up there because of bears and all that stuff. The only thing that's acceptable within the park, and the rangers approve, is water. If you do see a quarter gallon left, take that with you.
Chug it and take it with you.
Because that's considered trash.
I have another really good point, but I can't think of what it is. And what's really great about the Big Wall Bible is I can add them there, just like you can. And if you go to the How Not to Contribute section in that book, you can see how to make those contributions. Thanks for watching, and hit the thing that looks like this and subscribe so you can see our last How Not to Big Wall video coming next week.
Looks great if slightly dark, but it's fine.
Because I lowered it one before I showed you.
Yeah.
Is this type of exposure okay?
Oh my God. Oh, this video went downhill fast.
Oh boy.
Get it?
This is terrible.
Okay.
Dad joke central right here.